You're good.
You sound good. All right.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Sarcasm and Liberty Wednesday night live stream. I'm your host, Mike Ursery, a.k.a. And with me tonight, we have a little bit bigger than panel than usual. We have Michael Leoncello, our resident lord. We have Madness. How are you? How are you doing?
Here. I'm sick.
You're still there, so you're still awful.
Yep.
Eric Laprice, our resident anarchist, and the annoyed monarchist Otter. And we have a guest joining us tonight. His name is Kyle Wagner. He is the creator of the Anarcho-Capitalism versus Monarchism debate Facebook group. Kyle. All right, so tell us, how did you start this Facebook group, Anarcho-Capitalism versus Monarchism debate?
Just like anybody starts any Facebook group, I just went to create group, and I gave it a title.
Okay. All right. How long have you had it?
It was founded in June or July of 2015, so it's been over 3 years now. I can remember adding the first 30 people just to get it going. I came from ANCAP versus ANCOM debate group, which I was in for a few years. And then eventually I feel like I graduated out of anarcho-capitalism to minarchism. And the topic of that group was no longer interesting to me. So I thought that the real debate that needed to happen in the liberty movement was limited government versus anarcho-capitalism. So I created that debate group to put a spotlight on that debate.
Okay. How many members are in the group today?
We have about 2,250. I'm sorry, 10,000. 10,250. A number of whom are communists at this point. I've been infiltrated by commie trolls, but and I've been just too nice to kick them out.
I mean, that's part of the nature, right?
Yeah, it seems to be the nature of Facebook. They must just I don't know if they even have their own groups. They just go in libertarian groups and they just troll us constantly.
Yeah. I was about to say, how many of those 10,000 members are actually Ali?
Yeah, I always call him Ali. There's my cat. Ali, I don't know, maybe it's Ali, but I assume it's Ali, Ali, Alibaba. But I don't. He has probably 5 stocks because he gets banned from Facebook and he creates a stock, and he's cool about it. He usually uses his own name in his new name. So it'll be not Ali, not Ali 2. He's nuts, man. That guy has so much time on his hands. He just trolls all day, and he's not just in my group. He's in other libertarian groups doing it too. So he loves it. He's addicted. He's totally addicted to trolling.
Wow. Okay. So this is my first time back in how long was I gone? 3 weeks, a month?
Something like that.
It's definitely a month.
Yeah, gone for a month. I've been working, covering high school basketball games. And I've been out past the usual start time and haven't been able to get back in time to host a stream. Eric, thanks so much for hosting last week. I think we went 2 or 3 weeks without a stream because I wasn't able to come on and everybody else had stuff going on as well. But we are back now, and hopefully we get back to some type of consistency with this. We'll see what next week holds. I'm not even sure yet. But, in those weeks that we weren't doing these streams, there was a lot of stuff happening, and there was a lot of stuff that we could have talked about. And then you get to this week, and it seems like nothing's happening. There's a very, the first time in a long time, this is a very slow news week. And, the end of last week was Rogers, we'll talk about here in a minute. And after that, it's everything just kind of slowed down. Kamala Harris said she's running for president. Howard Schultz is talking about running for president, and people don't want him to. But there's nothing else going on.
Well, Hillary said wants to.
Yeah, Hillary is talking about possibly running for president as well. Nobody's surprised by that. I said a long time ago she was going to run. I'm pretty sure she is.
Yeah.
I hope she loses.
Yeah.
I hope she loses in the primaries. That could like just put the icing on the end of the Clinton era. It's like, oh, you lost in the general last time, and now you're going to lose in the primaries. Even better.
To Jim Webb.
Jim Webb.
She's going to lose.
I just want to see her in the debates.
She's going to lose in
I want to see everybody
Iowa
attack her.
She's going to lose in Iowa and New Hampshire to Liz Warren, and that'll be the end of it.
But the two fake Indian.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
But she should
Yeah,
stay in
I just
to the
wanna-
very end.
They have
like
to lose
Mike
hard.
Huckabee.
I just want to
Stay
see
in
her in
on-
the debate. I want to see everyone attack her and then hack. That's
Yeah.
That would be fun to see.
that is, I'm not really excited about any particular person in this Democrat primary running, but I can't wait to watch them all debate each other.
They are
because that is
already
going to
attacking
be-
each other.
That
And
is
a lot of
going
them
to
are
be-
already attacking Bernie. Bernie's getting a lot of attacks from most of the candidates from the Democrats.
Yeah, you want to
It's
talk
fun to
about
see.
full blown ass clown circus. The next like 18 months is going to just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, I want her to stay in to the very end, like Mike Huckabee did. Just unironically, not know when to quit. Mike Huckabee stayed in. Had to have been for like the first real life meme, just because he went on SNL and made fun of himself doing it. But
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
just if she even runs, that's her saying, I don't know when to quit. Like,
yeah,
kind of campaigning. Even after she lost in 2016, she was kind of campaigning, and then she wrote a book and went on a book tour. So of course she doesn't know when to quit.
She wrote a
Yeah.
book where she
She
blames
has to be
everyone.
a guy. She has to keep some sense of power.
I mean, she should have
You know.
quit when she lost to Obama back
No,
then.
she wanted
well, the
attention.
money goes away, right? All the Saudi
Mhm.
donations and all
Oh,
the Chinese
The
donations.
attention
and all
goes away. She's either a bit addicted to the attention.
No, I think it's the money. I think it's
Yeah.
really. I mean, she lost $100 million a year in donations from foreign charity groups and whatever to the Clinton Foundation. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Hmm.
And you're not
Yeah.
going to make that back
Kinda
up on
rerunning.
speaking tours.
Speaking of swallow, did you
Yeah.
see the headline that Trump has been pointing out to people where Bill and Monica had sex? I guess like
Still?
whenever he has a guest, he just like kind of like points it out like part of the tour. It's become part of the White House tour.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, well,
Thoughts
that's
on Hillary
the
Clinton running in
that's
this
the-
Democrat field.
that's the troll in chief for you.
Yeah.
He is the troll in chief. Kyle, what's your thoughts on Hillary possibly running in this field of Democrats so far?
I think Hillary's done. I don't think. I mean, she might run again. I don't know, but she was having health problems last time. I just feel like that was going to be her best chance to win it, and I don't know if she can climb that hill again. I mean, campaigning takes a lot out of a person. It's a lot of travel. It's very physically demanding. She does want the crown, but I don't know. I think her ship has sailed. So I'd be surprised if she actually does throw her hat in the ring again. In general, Democrats are absolutely awful. And unfortunately, Trump is going to be the Republican nominee. So that leaves libertarians with no candidate, whoever the LP puts up. But, outside of Democrats and Republicans, we won't have any candidate in the debates or anybody expressing our views. So, I mean, that shows you, one of the benefits of the LP is that we can have a candidate even in an election year where the Republicans are the incumbent. You know what I mean? Because now we have to wait 8 years before another Republican primary so we can get a Rand or someone like Rand in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of unfortunate too because these Democrats are going to they're going to circle the wagons and they're going to fire on each other for the next 18 months, like
They're
Eric
already
was
doing
saying.
that.
And then whoever
Most
wins
are
that primary is
already at
going
the
to come
moment.
out. Whoever wins that primary is going to come out wounded, and
Mhm.
then it's just going to be that person and Trump just flinging insults at each other at every debate. That's all it's going to be. It's just going to be them shouting back and forth. And they're
Think about the concept of the sitting president of the United States of America live tweeting the opposite party's debates, and he's the troll in chief.
Mhm.
So there's going to be 25 of them on that stage, and he's going to be, I mean, by the time they're done with that, he's going to have the, low energy Jeb or crooked Hillary or whatever the nickname is for the winner. It'll be common parlance already because he'll have nailed them to the wall he won't have to worry about the Republican field, so he can focus all of his attention on the Democrats. I cannot. I mean, you want to talk about just beautiful P.T. Barnum-esque circus? It's just going to be awesome.
They're going to do all of his op research for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's going to get 18 months. I mean, he's going to get a solid year of them digging on each other constantly. Yeah. Every little piece of garbage dirt that they can possibly find, he's going to get a year's head start on the regular campaign, on the general election. It's going to be madness. I mean, if you're a fan of H.L. Mencken the way I am, and you look at Democratic politics is completely ridiculous but entertaining, it's going to be a good year.
You say that because he already, well, I mean, he didn't live tweet it, but he did tweet about that Liz Warren did in her house, in her kitchen, where she's kind of standing in front of the camera and just goes, you know what? I think I'll have a beer. Like who stands in their own kitchen and just goes, you know what? I think I'll have a beer. No, you just nonchalantly get one.
Grab the beer and open it and start drinking.
He was tweeting, like, I think he might have been suffering from cabin fever because he was tweeting a lot about being by himself in the White House because no Democrats wanted to come over and talk to him about ending the shutdown. I think he might have been having cabin fever because there was one night where he was just tweeting senselessly, and he doesn't drink, but I could have swore he was drunk.
Sounded like he was drunk.
And but like I remember, like there was like one part where like she like her husband showed up and she looked at him and said, "Thanks so much for being here." And Trump tweeted like, why wouldn't he be there? He lives there. Like it was great. But as far as like LP candidates, I know, hoping, praying that Bill Weld does not try to win the LP. But outside of like Larry Sharp, does the LP have anyone that could have any kind of a chance?
I don't think any of them have a chance.
But they don't have anybody else.
John McAfee will be entertaining at least.
Yeah, but he's not running as a libertarian. He's not running for the LP. He's running independent.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. And so, and Austin Peterson is already he's dogging on the LP on Twitter this week, going, "They don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. Why would I bother?" He's not doing it again. So who else are you going to get to run for that position? Like a bunch of the crackpot nut jobs that ran for it last time. Like it's not
Arvin Bora.
Yeah,
I
mean, your alternative is Bill Weld, and so that's probably who you're going to get because he's the only quote unquote serious candidate that's even expressing an interest at this point.
I'm going to come out of left field here and say we need to draft John Stossel.
Stossel's like 73 years old.
Wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah, he's way older than people realize because he has black hair, but he's actually pretty old.
Hmm.
He's
been around forever.
73-year-old John Stossel up against 76-year-old Trump. Not a bad move.
And 81-year-old Bernie.
I'd take it. If Stossel ran, I'd vote for him.
Hell yeah.
I did not know he was that old. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, It's like I hope I age that well. I mean, shit, I wish I had that much hair right now. I'm 35.
I know, right?
He's been 40 for the last 40 years.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if it's any consolation, by the time I'm 60, I'm going to look like Santa Claus.
he and Patrick
Well,
Stewart
that's what he
apparently
did. So
he and Patrick Stewart apparently drank from the same fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick Stewart's unbelievable.
Well, he's finally starting to look old, but yeah, it's taken him 25 years to actually look his age.
Yeah, he's aged
At
like
least-
10 years since
at least.
1987. He's aged a maximum of 10 years since 1987. I mean, it's crazy.
well, he did start hanging out a lot with Ian McKellen since the X-Men movies. So
Yeah, I mean,
like they're besties.
I just get someone besides Bill Weld. Like, come on now. Like, we can't have Bill Weld. It's gonna be bad.
Well, I actually
He-
think there's a reasonable chance he actually runs unopposed.
Mm.
At least at this
Bill-
point,
he's
nobody else.
already got opposition, but it's not really credible opposition. You know, he's
Yeah.
got Arvin Vora,
Yeah.
and he's got a bunch of like pretty radical anarchist candidates. I think Adam Kokesh is trying to run if he can stay out of jail long enough to have a campaign.
But is he running? Is he
and-
running as part of the LP or is he running independent?
Yeah. I think he would be an LP candidate. And I can tell you, I mean, I was at LibertyCon last weekend in Washington, D.C., and it's hosted by Reason Magazine, and they brought out Bill Weld for, like, the grand finale. And it was such a snooze fest, man. Like, the place was so just, like, falling asleep. It was a 1-2 combo. But, he's almost like a Lurch or one of those, like, characters, he kind of, like, crawls out from behind the scenes, and then he sounds like Mitt Romney. He and Mitt Romney, I feel like, would just sit there and have, like, a best buds conversation.
Bill Weld is the left leaning. Bill Weld is the left leaning. If I could talk, sorry. Bill Weld is the left leaning version of what we got in Bob Barr in what 08.
I
It's
wasn't paying attention then. I didn't even know what a libertarian was in 08.
I think it was Bob Barr. Bob Barr was one of the chief war on drug war drum beaters during the Clinton administration. He was a big HW fan. He was all about big government way back in the day. I don't think he was terribly on board with shrinking the government as much as supposedly Newt Gingrich wanted to, but somebody could check me on that. I might be wrong on that.
No, my understanding.
I don't know.
My understanding
We
of Bob Barr's
had
politics.
Harry Brown and we had Ron Paul. Those are the only two candidates that I can remember
Oh, right,
that I
right,
could
okay,
really
I'm
get
sorry.
behind.
Ron Paul was 08. Bob Barr was
No. Ron Paul ran as a Republican in 08. Ron Paul ran
Okay.
In
for
88.
Oh, right.
88.
Gotcha, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got-
so-
Yeah, and
No,
Harry
Bob Barr.
Brown was the man.
Yeah. But Bob Barr. Scott Horton hates Bob Barr. That's all I need to know.
But could they really call themselves the Libertarian Party, though, if they nominate Bill Weld? Like, Gary Johnson, I understand, but
Well,
this
I've
is
been
Bill
arguing
Weld
on-
we're talking about here. Who?
I've been arguing on Twitter for more than 5 months that libertarianism doesn't mean anything anymore. So, and
No.
it's mostly a dig at the party more than the philosophy. But
It really doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
much.
I mean, at least Gary Johnson, we can make weed memes about him and shit. But Bill Weld, that's just boring.
I mean, Bill Weld, after it was obvious that they weren't going anywhere, Bill Weld came out in favor of Hillary last time. So, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Another thing too, like, Bill Weld isn't very memeable. Like, is there any kind of meme you could make about Bill Weld? I don't think
even
you
know who that
can.
is.
I
Well,
made
let him
one the other day.
Let him run
Yeah,
for
what?
president and see what happens. He'll put
There's
some
a
foot in
gif
his
of him
mouth.
dancing that's pretty funny.
There's a gif of him dancing.
Yeah. He's like going like this. Look that up. That's it.
Oh,
That's
man.
what we got. That gif's got to carry us through.
Gosh, it's
Nah,
getting to the
it's
point
a
where like I
sorry
just
state
don't
of
want to.
affairs.
What's that?
It's a sorry state of affairs. We just don't have. I mean, I was a Ron Paul guy. I don't know how you guys feel about Ron Paul. I was like all about Ron Paul. That was my introduction to the Liberty movement. And I feel like he set the gold standard, and no one's ever going to live up to that standard for me. Or even, I mean, I would accept someone that was like 30% of what Ron was, and I just feel like that's just way too high a bar. Like, I don't know. It's going to be a long political season.
I mean, Ron was just great at, I mean, Ron ran a strong campaign in 2012, and he was really good at messaging. And not only that, but I mean, you had two libertarian candidate like that. Like, you know, Gary Johnson just had no energy. I still wonder what it would be like if Austin Peterson was a candidate in 2016 and not Gary Johnson. But like, I don't think there's any candidates that people just want to go out and campaign for, and like the LP just sucks at messaging anyway. You know, it's.
I mean, they chose Gary over Austin because Austin was way too young. He had no life experience, no political experience. You know, they went with what I would say was their blue chip candidate, their candidate that the public might take seriously. I really don't think that the public would have taken Austin seriously. I think he just had that kind of immature frat boy kind of vibe to him. And I don't think he would have resonated with Republicans and Democrats as much as his supporters think. And I mean, I kind of like Austin, to be honest. I've learned a lot. You know, he was influential in my journey to minarchism. You know, and he's passionate and he works hard. Like, he got his ass kicked in the primary, the Missouri Senate primary, and I think the exact same thing would have happened. You know, if he had been the LP nominee, it's not like he was going to take down Trump. I mean, he wasn't even going to be on the debate stage, just like Gary wasn't on it.
Well, the other thing is that Gary Johnson at least can fundraise. Austin Peterson has shown no ability to do so.
Yeah.
So follow the money. You can't.
Sadly, I think Gary Johnson would have done better if he'd never gotten on camera after the LP nomination. Just because his resume was top notch, you know. Yeah, but if he could have just ran, I mean, comparatively to what happened afterward, every time he got on camera afterwards, it chipped away at what we saw in the resume.
And I actually will defend Austin on this one. He actually does know how to fundraise. He has a lot of like really hardcore supporters that are always giving him a lot of money. He actually has held out contracts. Like for what he is, like he's gotten a lot of donations. I mean, obviously not comparable to someone that's actually doing serious runs, but to someone that's getting his ass kicked in the Republican primaries in Missouri. He's made a lot of money.
I think he made $400,000, which, you know, to me is respectable. But I mean, he didn't get anywhere close to what Josh Hawley got, and he didn't get anywhere near as many votes as Josh Hawley got. So
well, and if you look at I don't know, Beto O'Rourke raised $60 million for the same race at the same time and lost. So you raised $400,000, like of course you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Well, Beto was getting donations from the entire nation, though.
Okay,
like, they were
what
like
does
nationwide.
That say?
Donating Beto.
If you're Beto O'Rourke and you lost in Texas, but you raised $60 million, what does that tell the party? Oh, this guy's a serious candidate. He can raise money.
I'd like to interject on that note that he was running against Cruz. That was a lot of Cruz hate money, not necessarily we love Beto O'Rourke, some white guy from El Paso.
Cool.
That was Cruz hate money, and it was also an effort.
Yeah, it was an effort. It was an effort to turn Texas blue. I mean, that's a big part of it. Yeah, I understand the circumstances, but some of that is cool. You picked the right race to run in.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing too is about Austin here in Missouri. Trump endorsed Josh Hawley like long before the primary vote. Trump went to the VFW centennial celebration in Kansas City and brought Josh Hawley with him and endorsed him during that speech, and even gave Hawley a platform to go and like give a speech. It wasn't even Trump's event. It was a VFW event, which he was invited to, and he used it to endorse a candidate, which I thought was garbage. And I thought it was garbage that he endorsed a candidate before the primary. Like, what happened to, you know, sitting back and waiting for the primary to play the person that won your party like that? In a few states. It wasn't just Missouri. There's some other states where he did the same thing.
Well, I think that's part of being the troll in chief. How decorum isn't on his resume.
Yeah. Another thing, Austin also was like really campaigning hard against him because of his views on immigration. Like he doesn't support the wall and a closed borders kind of candidate, and you had people attacking him on that as well. And of course, where the GOP sits as far as that. There were a lot of things against him. It wasn't just him being Austin Peterson. There were a lot of other factors to it as well.
He wasn't the chosen one. He wasn't in the club, you know.
And he wasn't chosen. Yeah. One person who might run, he's not going to run as a libertarian. He probably never will. But one person who's talked about running, who has gotten a very negative reaction from people on the left, Howard Schultz, who is now the fourth Starbucks. He's talking about running as a independent left of center presidential candidate. And the Democrats are losing their minds over it.
It's so funny to see. They talk about boycotting the thing that they go to the most. They will not hold the boycott very long.
I actually think it's a potentially winning play, or it could end up being a lot like Ross Perot in '92. But it's the thing is, so you've got a reasonably beloved, relatively well known, multi-billionaire. It puts a damper on Michael Bloomberg potentially running, because they'd run head to head and bleed each other dry a little bit. But I think it's if he's smart, he runs the Clinton campaign from '92, and he says, "No, it's the economy's stupid, and I run one of the most. I ran and grew and originated one of the most successful businesses of all time, and you all love Starbucks. We're socially we've proven that capitalism can be environmentally conscious and socially conscious and yada yada,
benevolent, yeah."
So you can talk it would be like John Mackey from Whole Foods running, same concept. I think those guys have broad appeal in the not psycho leftist Democratic Socialist wing of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party seems to have thrown their lot in with at least quite a bit further left of center than that. So at a minimum, Liz Warren, and at a maximum, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's not old enough to run for president this go around, but they seem perfectly willing to deal with her socialist rhetoric and whatnot. And I think in large part, that's where the youth of the Democratic Party is going. But it's not the base of any party. In both parties, it's the old people that vote, and the old, Clinton voters are my parents' age. They're the last of the boomers, and they're, 65 and 70, and they're going to vote in mass. And if you can be a non-psycho lefty that's, benevolent capitalism, you run a decent shot of, at least making the Democrats really have to work for their voting base for the first time in, 20 years. So it's not just a gimme. Right. It's not just, we hate George W. Bush, or, you can get a pretty decent section of the population that hates Trump, but a lot of those people don't hate him enough to vote for Bernie or Liz Warren, so it gives them a third option. And he's not running as a Democrat, which is a problem for the Democratic, the party organizational beast. That's a serious problem for them.
Yeah. They're already, the media and Democrats themselves are already starting to take shots. One thing that they're really talking about, really taking shots at, is the whole self-made billionaire, because according to the left, billionaire aid, they either earn their billions or somehow it's left to the of all the people that work for them, because that's the message that they like to say. he was on Morning Joe this morning with Joe Scarborough and Minka, whatever her name is. And
Scarborough now aren't they married?
Did she change her last name?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, it might as well be.
Yeah, they are married now. They are married. And he and Joe had asked him this morning, what is the cost of a box of Cheerios? Trying to make him out of touch and tone deaf, which is probably the dumbest question to ask because I don't know how much a box of Cheerios costs, and I'm not a billionaire.
Well, which size box of Cheerios and which flavor of Cheerios and at which grocery store, and like that's not a yes or no question.
Yeah, what to ask.
What town? Yeah, I mean, my neck of the woods, it's $4 or $5, and in New York City, it's probably going to be 6 or 8.
Yeah.
If I go to Randall's,
well, this was like the same
H-E-B,
question.
I'm going to get two very different prices, and it's in the same town. Like they're across the street from each other, literally. If I go to Randall's, it's going to be 20% more than it is at H-E-B.
This was the same question that was asked to Georgie 92 when somebody asked him what is the cost of a gallon of milk. Joe was going for that angle. Earlier tonight, I saw this take, which I never thought I would ever. This is just amazing. All right, do you remember Barack Obama's "You didn't build that" back in 2012?
Yeah.
Talking about Mitt Romney, and this guy named Brandon Friedman, he is a columnist for the New York Daily News, and his Twitter bio says he's a former Obama guy. I don't know what he did, if he worked on Obama's campaign or did something within his administration. I don't know. But he tried to take that angle tonight because Howard Schultz is from Brooklyn, in public housing in Brooklyn, and then he eventually made it out. But here's what this guy had to say. He said, if you grew up in the projects.
Did we lose him?
And so you never met, all worked and paid their taxes, so you didn't have to grow up homeless. So because he didn't grow up homeless, because he grew up in the projects, he's not self-made. Does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life.
And we missed that. Doesn't even make sense.
None of that makes sense. That is, gosh, this guy got ripped apart. I mean, all the replies to him. There's some people who are agreeing with him, and there's some people who are telling him that he's stupid. And the people who are telling him he's stupid are right because this guy sounds like an idiot. You're not self-made because you grew up in the projects. That just.
That's
the argument.
You did grow up in the projects?
Yeah, apparently Howard Schultz grew up in public housing in Brooklyn, at least for a time. So the argument being that at 5 years old, you're supposed to decide where your parents live?
Right. Apparently.
That goes entirely against the entire the I'm going to be inarticulate here. That goes against the entire American ethos of the old school American ethos of picking yourself up by the bootstraps, regardless of your station in life and childhood, and making something of yourself, and being the best that you can do in whatever circumstances you're handed, and then you go make it for yourself. That the fact that they're insulting and deriding the fact that he came from absolutely nothing and became what he became is. These people would have been rounded up in McCarthyist witch hunts 70 years ago, 65 years ago.
Well, and the other ironic part of that is, the same argument gets flipped on its head when you're Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and you get extra credit for having grown up in the projects, even though she didn't stay in the projects until they moved out eventually.
Exactly.
She gets the reverse
for like
play
5
of that.
years. Like she grew up in the projects until she was like 5.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do that to a left-leaning guy like him, how long before they start doing that to Bloomberg and Buffett? Assuming, of course, they say one thing that steps out of their, the SJW socialist circle.
Bloomberg gets a major pass because he's super good on guns as far as they're concerned, meaning he's the worst on guns.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is his one-trick pony.
It has
Yeah.
become his
Well-
major issue, that's for sure.
Schultz has already messed up because he did that interview on 60 Minutes last Sunday, and he said that Medicare for all was not possible. So he does not support a Medicare for all model. And that's where he really went wrong, because that is like their
base.
issue going into this next election. Yeah, that issue in the next election is getting some kind of Medicare for all or Medicaid for all or whatever they call it.
Single
Bernie's
payer
plan.
healthcare.
This system
Yes.
sucks. Everyone should have it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know anybody.
It
We
works
don't
in
know
a
anybody
country
that has any direct experience with
Government-controlled
that at all.
healthcare sucks ass.
Well, it works in a country with 1/10 of our population, so it should work here, right?
Well, hey, Madness, how well does public healthcare work, buddy?
I don't know. I've never lived under it.
You guys don't have you don't have social healthcare where you're at?
Mine is, but the one that is here is government controlled.
Yeah, that's what public, not private. Yeah, or we could always ask
Yeah.
Josh the same question, because the VA is just one big socialist healthcare problem. Yeah.
Mm.
We don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
anybody that has a problem with social medicine. Good grief.
Yeah. Only
No one at all.
three generations of my family have been on it at some point. Yeah. Watched what it did.
Mm.
You can see that they've made progress. I mean, they've gotten it into the public discourse, and it's something that people are talking about, people are clamoring for. So, I mean, I think that as the opposite end of the spectrum, the socialists are beating us as far as if we're to be making the privatized healthcare argument and saying we should get government out of healthcare. If it's a race between those two options, they're definitely beating us.
Oh, absolutely. That's because you have a message that appeals to the laziness within individuals. You have a message that where someone else is going to take care of it, and you don't have to be responsible. You don't have to be a psychologist to understand how the human mind is wired toward away from putting out effort. It's what is that Newtonian law where things at rest?
An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object at rest tends to stay at rest.
Exactly. The human psyche is the same way, in that we want to put out as little effort as possible, generally speaking. And those of us that are wired more towards personal responsibility and not having ourselves, our fate ride upon the decisions and the whims of others, are the only people that's going to appeal to. I posit how often minimum wage increase laws are voted down. When was the last time that happened? In my state, in my very deeply red state of Arkansas, we had over 70% of the population vote for a higher wage. That means 70% of my state who voted for that are economically illiterate. How hard do you think it's going to be to make all of these, quote, air quotes, conservatives say, this isn't so bad. If we just did it our way, that's where they're going to win. Everyone's going to have their way to do it. And there's going to be one of us in every 100 that stands up and says, are you retarded? That's going to be us.
You know what it is? Because they don't want to critically think for themselves. They just want to see what the politician they like is going to say about the matter, and then that becomes their opinion. Like, people talk about defending terrorists now that Trump is all for them, and they don't even know what the fuck they do.
NPCs
think it's such
are
a
on
good
both
thing.
sides. Yeah,
Well,
NPCs
you
are on both sides.
also don't get to argue from zero, right? You get to argue from where we're standing now, and from where we're standing now, a split system of Medicare option for all plus, hey, you can buy additional health care and pay for your own. That is way better than where we stand right now. And honestly, I agree with that. So it's an easy argument to make to go, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you national health care, and everybody's gonna be covered to a basic amount, and then you can buy extra, right? And so that's a better system than what we've got now. It's a lot cleaner and easier.
You'll still have just as many people going into the ER for hangnail colds.
Oh, if not more. But that's,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So that is what it is. But you're not going to like.
But then you allow them to push it in that direction where it's like, yeah, it's better than right now, but it's not the right way to improvement overall.
Yeah, but you don't get to have that argument. That's my point. You don't get to have the argument of, oh, it's the right move. It's what's better from where we're standing.
I mean, a lot of it is fighting over money, right? I mean, I personally don't want to pay for everyone else's health care. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to pay for everyone else's health care. I mean, I think that I would be on the losing end of a nationalized healthcare system. At the same time, there are a lot of people that want someone else to pick up the bill for their own healthcare. So we're all kind of being self-interested or selfish about it. And, you know, it's just whether you think that it's personally going to be beneficial to you or detrimental to you. I think I would end up paying more. And I do think the service would be a lot worse. I think that we would have shortages, long wait times, and I just think it would be very problematic. Obviously, the doctors would overcharge the government, and so the government would have to impose controls over the doctors and over how much they would pay. It would really be a disaster, and it leads to government taking over more and more and more control over that industry until everybody in it is pretty much working directly for the government.
That's where it's headed now. I mean,
Kyle brings up a really good point. Sorry, Kyle brings up a really good point, and I don't want to pay for other people's healthcare as well, and I'll tell you why. Whenever they talk about the need for like why it's so important to have, you know, this socialized healthcare model, they always bring up the most like drastic, most tragic case, like the 6-year-old girl with pancreatic cancer or the infant who was born with something like that. But yeah, those things do happen, and they are unfortunate. Why I don't want to pay for other people's healthcare in this country is because we are the fattest, laziest country in the entire world, where everyone is overweight, everyone is obese. You have people who eat crap. You have people who blow up to 400 pounds. You have people who drink. You have people who smoke. You have people who don't take care of themselves, and we're going to foot the bill for that.
And on the other side, I'm one of the people who does eat trashy food and does do unhealthy things, and I enjoy the freedom to that. And I think if you socialize medicine, healthcare, you know, then you're going to have to start regulating things in society that are unhealthy.
That's exactly it. Whenever you what's the word I'm looking for? Give responsibility over. Whenever you defer your own personal responsibility to someone else who's now paying for it, they may now dictate. You are abdicating responsibility and permission for someone else to dictate everything that you do that influences whatever they pay for. You are signing over ownership of yourself, of your health, to the government, and thus they may dictate what you eat now because they're going to be paying for it. It's no different. You know, we are essentially by saying hang on, quick second. Let me finish my quick point, if I can do it quickly. Whenever you sign over by someone, not you personally, whenever someone is signing over these things, they are signing over their adulthood and now relinquishing them or regressing themselves back into childhood, because it's no different than someone being responsible for a child in what they eat and their health. You are now saying, I don't want my health to be my concern. And, you know, no one understands that whenever they do that, the ding-dongs and Coke diet go right out the window, because just because they want to act like they're 8 doesn't mean someone's going to let them eat like they're, you know, but if they were 8.
And not only just on the control, like, oh, we're going to control what you're doing. Just as, because if you have a bunch of unhealthy people in the government-run healthcare system, something's got to give. And it's not going to be the healthcare system. the Twinkies. It's going to be the cigarettes. It's going to be the booze. It's going to be the drugs. And they're going to have everyone eating fucking vegan diets to fucking deal with their healthcare system.
In our lifetimes, I'd love it if Paleo was here. In our lifetimes, how many times have certain foods and certain food groups been considered the pinnacle of health? I mean, for the last 50 years, carbs have been considered healthy. We've been told for the last 40 years that margarine's healthy. How many times in the last 30, 40 years have eggs gone from it'll kill you if you look at one to this is the healthiest thing you could eat? And whenever government is in charge of your food and dictating the food pyramid, whatever is considered healthy, let's take a look at the sugar industry and the sugar lobbyists and how sugar and sugar's not just sugar cane, but all of those sugars were considered to be much more healthy than any healthy fats. Healthy fats was an oxymoron back when the sugar industry was lining the pockets from K Street. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, they keep changing whatever is healthy. Like every fucking day it gets changed. Like I remember in very old Donald Duck comics where they even stated like you have to drink 3 glasses of milk each day because you get strong from that shit.
Yeah,
and now you're here like, oh no, one is going to be really very dangerous for you.
Like, well, except that the milk that you're buying now wasn't the milk you were buying in the 30s. It's not the same thing anymore.
The comics were from like the 90s and stuff.
They call it the same thing, but it's not. Well, it's not even from the 90s. It's not the same thing.
Every milk company, the milk is slightly different.
It's actually rat milk, like in that Simpsons episode.
No, my last primary care doctor was a one of those direct primary care, so she doesn't take insurance, and her undergrad degree is in nutrition, and so I asked her, I was like, listen, because I was pre-diabetic and I'm like, my blood sugar levels aren't great, and I asked her about it, and I was like, if you look at pictures from when I was a kid, so 25, 30 years ago, nobody's fat. I mean, a couple of the old people maybe are fat, but nobody my age, nobody at 30, between 30 and 50 was fat. And I was like, what the hell? And she's like, well, it's they swapped they took all the animal fats and replaced it with sugar or salt or hydrogenated oil, vegetable oils.
Yeah.
They replaced all the natural animal fats with garbage, and it's made everybody fat. And so unless you're cutting all that crap out of it, yeah, you're going to be fat. Like, welcome to America. So that's, and so to go, nationalized healthcare they're going to make everybody eat really good. It's like, no, they're going to make everybody eat the way big ag business pays them to make everybody eat.
Exactly.
Well, the public, all the people that take an interest in your health and your lifestyle decisions. So if you're a smoker, if you think it's bad now, wait until they think they're paying for your treatment for your lung cancer or whatever. You politicize your lifestyle choices. Just like with public schools, I mean, all that's politicized. What are we going to teach the kids? What's the curriculum going to be? How many hours are they going to go? All that, everything's a political argument, and it's very contentious.
I got a much more direct argument. Stay out of the bedroom, right? These are the same people. These are the same people that 15 years ago wanted to argue nonstop that the government had no business in their bedroom, and now what they want is for the government to be involved in everybody's grocery bill.
Mm-hmm.
How is that's the thing about non-libertarians that I don't understand is that they all have something. Right, where they go, ooh, the government shouldn't be involved with this. Like every human I have ever met or talked to or read or experienced has some place where they think, the government shouldn't do that. Even the crazy lefties, even the nut job lefties have some place where they think, the government doesn't need to do that thing because for whatever reason. But somehow they can't expand the logic beyond their one issue. To even like, you can't even get them to have 3 issues, much less.
Everybody have a little bit of bias or something. It's human nature.
Oh yeah.
But some people take it really far with a bias.
They have one thing that they want the government to stay out of, but they have so many things that they unironically don't understand the end game of whenever they say there ought to be a law.
They ought to be a law. Actually, should say, if you don't do this thing,
I'm willing to kill for my idea.
Men with guns are going to come and put you in a cage, and if you don't get in the cage, eventually somebody's going to shoot you.
Yeah, everyone has to have unironically have something they want to control.
And to me, laws are about doing something to break them, not doing something to break them. You know what I mean? Like, there's no place in our society or any society for a law that you can break by not doing something.
Yeah. Well, as Skip likes to say on Twitter, malum prohibitum is not law, is not a crime. Malum inse is. That's a, malum inse means, like, there's a victim. Okay. Malum prohibitum means, hey, we prohibit that thing, and so now it's a crime and you can't do that. It's like, yeah, well, that's not actually a crime, so have a nice day. I didn't hurt anybody else. Get bent.
Pineapple on pizza is a violation of the DAP. I just want to get that out there.
Well, then I am violating everybody's NAP probably tomorrow. So.
Yes. I will gladly violate that.
I will feel NAP. The wound.
I'm having barbecue pork.
I will feel the wound anyway. Up here, sir.
Well, all right.
Anyway.
I will gladly. Pineapple belongs on pizza, by the way.
No, definitely. It's an abomination.
But it's going to be interesting to see going forward if Howard Schultz carries on. If he actually enters the race as an independent, that's going to be really interesting to see. You can Google Howard Schultz's name and a Google search of Howard Schultz, and the first thing that comes up is an article from HuffPost. Here's what Starbucks is telling employees to say about Howard Schultz. The next one is a list of, like, states that he's likely to visit during the early primary. The next one is an opinion from the New York Times. Howard Schultz, please don't run for president. Ocasio-Cortez on Schultz, why are billionaires who want to run for president? Howard Schultz hits back at Dems decrying possible 2020 bid. And it's just like the first few searches, like the first few items in the search is like either Howard Schultz is bad or why not run. So take that for what you will. This is going to be fun going forward.
We know from the last election that the CNN and the New York Times at least, and probably MSNBC are in the they're in the tank for the Democratic National Committee, whatever the party decides. So there's no way if he runs independent he's going to get any support there. That's just not going to happen.
Right. In the meantime, let's also Google Kamala Harris. See what the Google says about her. The first one is from Slate 3 hours ago. Kamala Harris says she wants to pass a single-payer bill. Is she serious about it? So Kamala Harris, single-payer healthcare. Let's see her Wikipedia page. And why is there a picture of Cory Booker here? I don't know. But yeah, president, we're just waiting for him to announce.
Oh, Kamala Harris might have stole his thunder. He might not be willing to run against her.
He's still going to run. So far, we have Liz Warren, we have Kamala Harris. Bernie is set to announce. Joe Biden might announce. Hillary Clinton might announce. And then, let's just say hypothetically we have Bernie, Biden, Kamala, Cory, Hillary, Liz.
There's that mayor from Indiana or Iowa. Where's he from? He's some He's like not even. It's not
who
even a
was
major
he?
city, but there's a mayor from one of those like Midwestern I states that's like he's officially running. I've seen it all over Twitter, and it's like he's a complete nobody from a town that's like under 200,000 people.
For his name, I know you're talking about. There's 7. Castro.
Is he running? I thought he was the former mayor of San Antonio. I thought he decided not to run. He like mentioned something about
he
it
announced
and
his campaign. Did he? I think he realized that a socialist named Castro running for president just.
Well, he's also he's got a. So my aunt used to work for his brother in Houston. They've got huge corruption scandals in their past. Like he doesn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. He couldn't win another mayoral election in Texas. Like he's worse than Beto. And running for mayor running for mayor in a major metro in Texas is you better be a like socialist because that's who wins. The major metros in Texas are super blue.
But he's sure to be popular in southern Florida.
I mean, he's not a Cuban Castro though. He's a Mexican Castro. It's slightly different. The name doesn't help him any, but I mean, yeah, the politics aren't good. But like, he lost his congressional bid like 8 years ago, and so did his brother ran at one point too. Like, they're non-starters, those two.
Okay.
You say Tulsi
well, anyway,
Gabbard.
we're up to like 7 right now.
Oh yeah,
Tulsi
Gabbard. There's Tulsi Gabbard. There's another one.
Oh yeah, Tulsi Gabbard 8. We're up to 8 right now. There's going to be there could be as many as like 12 people.
It's going to be a big mess.
I think the over/under is 15. That's where the line is. Who's taking the over?
Are they going to do like?
I thought it was
like
25 or something.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even got Oprah yet.
Oh yeah, there's always Oprah.
Shit, right?
Michelle Obama, she could run.
I think she'll wait
Michelle
one more
Obama.
round.
Oh.
She doesn't want to run against Trump. She'd
Well,
win. She'd win the primaries, but she doesn't want to run against Trump. If she's gonna run,
I think
next time.
She might be discouraged from running because of the way that her husband was treated for 8 years. I think that might. You think that might shy her away from? No. Okay.
Nah. Now, if she wants to run, she'll run. It doesn't have anything to do with Barack. It has to do with whether or not she thinks she can win. And she can win the primaries now, but I don't think she'd win against Trump. And I think it's pretty clear that that's not the case. She'd have a much better chance against an open Republican field.
Yeah.
Well, most of them are no chance.
Turnout the Barack had.
She's probably actually got a good chance in the years coming up because you really think about it, all the boomers are dying out. All that generation that grew up with Obama and their kids are gonna hear from their parents about how great Obama was. So,
She's got the right demographic. She's a black female. The only thing higher than that is like a transgender.
Well, and she wasn't a cop like Kamala Harris. So like she wasn't a DA. She wasn't the state attorney general. Like, so she's better on the like crime stuff as far as the Democrats are concerned. So yeah, I think
So is it Michelle Obama versus is it going to be Michelle Obama versus the GameStop transvestite? 2024?
That would be an awesome fight.
Left
I know.
Oh man,
a lot of times people hated GameStop. So. Like a lot.
Imagine what about his identity politics,
I mean, the other thing about Michelle running is, does she really want to tarnish? Like, some of that is how bad does Barack's legacy look after Trump, right, or after whoever the next president is? Because if it's gone and she wants to try to go rebuild that, or not, and do they want to give up the money that they're going to get now? He's getting. I think the number I saw last was like $300,000 per speech. And they're doing interviews, and they got the deal with Netflix producing documentaries and shows and whatever else because what's her name
They
is
both have book
Susan
deals.
Rice is running up. Yeah, they both got book deals, and so do you want to give that up to go run for president? And so some of that will depend on, are they still getting the same fees? Like, I don't see the Obamas doing the thing the Carters did, where it's like, no, I'm going to go do, global philanthropy, and I'm going to go do the speaking circuit for, 35 years or whatever it's been now. Like, I don't see that. They're too young to do that forever. So I think there's a decent chance that she runs at some point for something. It doesn't necessarily have to be president, but I can't imagine them being comfortable leaving that much of the limelight so early and staying, relatively out of the spotlight at such an early age. Because, I mean, she's like barely 50, if that.
Yeah.
I can't see either one of them holding a hammer.
Of course not.
So
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. We about reached an hour here. Kyle, we usually keep these about an hour, so we're about to sign off. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your input on the LP and presidential elections and political landscape and all of that. Glad to have you on again sometime if you'd like to come on.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the conversation.
Great having you, Kyle.
Sorry not to be on the
show. Maybe next week something crazy will happen that we could talk about and have a lot of fun with that didn't happen this week. So news cycle needs to pick back up again. But we will be back here again next Wednesday night, the regular time, 10 Eastern instead of 10:30. But until then, we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.